Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ji, Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to this live session yet again with PSTD, like we do every Friday. So today we've changed things a bit, you know. So what we've done, what you usually see on PSTD's platform is corporates coming from different organization, different trainers coming in, different professionals from the L&D departments coming in. But today we've changed it because today we're celebrating the Independence Day of Pakistan, and when we think or talk about the future of Pakistan, the one thing that comes to the mind is the youth of Pakistan. Currently, 64% of population of Pakistan is below 30, and 29% of them are between the age of 15 and 29. So you can see the large amount of population, the large number of population is considered as youth of Pakistan, and this number is expected to increase until 2050. So today we'll be having the youth of Pakistan with us. So very warm welcome to Arshad Jafri, Awais Shabir, and Anam Sadik. Welcome to PSTD's channel, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you so much.
you, Kazim.
So if you could take a minute and quickly introduce yourselves, starting with Arshad.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arshad Jafri. Happy Independence Day to all of you. I'm a student of final year Bachelor of Laws, University of London, and I am here for a fruitful discussion and an interactive session. Once again, Happy Independence Day to all of you.
Thank you. Anam, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Yes, hi everyone, and happy Independence Day to you. My name is Anam Sadik. I am currently the marketing manager at Mashin. This is a digital publication here in Pakistan. Previously, I've done my bachelor's in public relations and journalism in Chicago, where I worked for a year, and I moved back to Pakistan about 2 years ago. So really happy to be here and looking forward to a really engaging and productive discussion.
Thank you. Awais.
So, hi everyone, this is Awais Shabir. First of all, I'll take this opportunity to express my gratitude to PSTD for arranging this seminar or live session. And currently, I am working as a relationship manager in HBL, and simultaneously, I'm pursuing my master's in business studies from Renmin University of China. And happy Independence Day, and please stay safe.
Thank you so much, Awais. The stay safe part was very important to be discussed. You know, as the COVID restrictions are being lifted up by the government. We will very warm welcome Manur. We
Thank
were
you.
just going through, and each of the panelists were introducing themselves. So if you could take a minute and tell our
Okay.
audience about yourself, please.
Yes, sure. My name is Manur, as you know, and I recently graduated from the University of Surrey. I did an MBA program with them, and after returning from Surrey, I joined our family business. It's a printing and packaging company in Lahore, and I work there as a brand development manager. I manage the our social media presence, and I also coordinate with the sales team.
That's very nice, Manu. Thank you so very much. And I thank you to Arsal Anam Abbas as well for introducing yourself. So let's get on with the discussion now. And I'm liking the perspectives that we'll get here because as we've seen Arsal, Anam, and Manu, you've all stayed out of Pakistan as well. And then you've come back to Pakistan. So it's going to be a very diverse experience that you guys are going to be bringing. So let's start off with as you guys come from the segment of population which is considered as youth, myself as well, but since you're the panelists, I will be asking you, what is the perspective of youth about an independent Pakistan? We'll start off with Anna.
So I think, when we talk about an independent Pakistan, of course, we think about all the struggles our forefathers have been through to create this country for us, and kind of with the idea that this is a safe space. So for me, I think an independent Pakistan is truly one that is independent for everyone, for it's a safe space for everyone, because it's not just for a certain sect, certain community, certain religion. it's for everyone, and that's kind of the ideology that the country was made with. So for me, when I think of an independent Pakistan, for me, it's independence for everyone, equal opportunity for everyone.
Right. So what does Arsal have to say about it? Your
Very
perspective
well said.
about an independent Pakistan.
I I pretty much have the same perspective what Anam just stated. I would just like to add on to it that for me, an independent Pakistan would be when people are told about their rights, and every individual citizen has a knowledge about their rights so that they're able to enforce them. All of us, including the youth and the millennials, we have a very different perspective about the law and order of the state. We think that the rights cannot be enforced. However, the rights can be enforced. The only problem is that the youth and the people of Pakistan are not properly told about their rights.
Right, right. So Owas, what is your perspective of an independent Pakistan?
So I really like how Anam and Arshil just made the base for me to like step forward and have a discussion or given my perspective about the independent Pakistan. I basically would like to categorize it in more technical terms that the independent Pakistan's perspective would be the socio-economic independence, the political independence, and the religious independence that our forefathers have tried to build a base for us, and now we are able enough to have that independence and enjoy that independence, and that's our responsibility now to build upon those principles and lead forward the nation and the coming individuals or the youth of Pakistan. So that's the three basic categories, like socio-economic independence, political independence, and the religious independence. These are the broader terms.
Right. So we're up. Manu, you're up next.
I think everybody has said pretty much what I wanted to say in terms of freedom of speech. When it comes to an independent country, our youth has, uh, I think, the youth of Pakistan has pretty much the same idea of an independent country as the youth of any other country, and that essentially is freedom of speech. And we have seen many instances of religious intolerance where the youth has has felt that this right has been they have been made to feel that this right is something that they cannot freely exercise. And so I'll just sum up by saying that there's something else that I also feel, which is the lack of freedom of, which is the lack of financial independence. We still don't have financial independence in our country because Pakistan is a country which has a lot of debt, and we have to bow down to the decisions of external bodies or foreign bodies such as the IMF, and we have to accept their decisions and policies for us. And we still don't. We're still dependent on our parents for much of our financial freedom. So these are issues that are still pertinent in Pakistan, and in its true sense, we are not as independent as we'd like to be.
So your point comes from a perspective of youth that the youth of Pakistan is not as independent as they would like to be in terms of being financially, specifically that you pointed out, financially being independent. So how do you
Yes.
think we could improve that? Being the youth and being the driving force behind everything, how could we improve that?
I think at the government level, we could at least have a minimum wage, and also then means that we need to have work opportunities, especially part-time work opportunities. In Pakistan, the idea of working part-time, especially in restaurants or cafes as a part-time waiter or waitress, is still frowned upon. And when I was in UK, I worked at I had a part-time job at Burger King, and almost all of my batchmates and pretty much everyone had a part-time job as a student, even if they were from good universities. But this is something that is still frowned upon in our country. So maybe if we create more part-time work opportunities, and maybe if we start accepting that yes, people can still support themselves and people can still be in universities and simultaneously work at the same time. Maybe if we start accepting that notion, we can help younger people to support themselves financially and not be a burden on their families. Maybe that can be the starting point.
You've brought up a beautiful point, and I would like every one of you to have a say in that as well. Because Pakistan में uh, jobs, the jobs that you talked about, serving at some restaurant, or serving at a petrol pump, or those kinds of jobs are considered for someone who doesn't have a degree, right, or who doesn't have a proper education. But outside of Pakistan, the financial independence come because people don't mind doing such jobs. So, Arsul, you, Anam, and Abbas, as you come from a diverse background and you have lived out of Pakistan, how can we help the youth of Pakistan overcome this dilemma?
So I would like to give an
Sure.
input on that. The first element to make the youth get into such jobs is give them the respect they deserve. Like, whatever the job is, it shouldn't be judged on the stature of the job. For example, if I am working on a petrol station filling up the tanks, I shouldn't be looked down on. If I'm having
Right.
a degree and I'm supporting my own self, that's a very good thing to do, and I shouldn't be
Yes.
looked down for that. I can work at a grocery store, but the element of respect to the youth is a necessity for them to indulge in such activities.
I'd also like to add to that. I think culturally we need to kind of erase this idea that certain jobs are for a certain class of people and certain jobs are not for a class of people. And I think
Yes.
the youth faces a lot of pressure on what kind of careers they can go. This is not just even when you're starting out in your career, like just the choice of industry you want to belong in. There's a lot of pressure. So I think if we give our youth more freedom to explore things that they're interested in, things that they're passionate about, they'll also be better and excel in those fields. And I also truly believe you can learn from every job. No matter what the job is, you learn from it. It's a learning experience provided you have that mindset. So I think that needs to be instigated and kind of ingrained in our culture, in the elders and in the younger generation.
Right.
I pretty much believe the same the three of you said. I just would like to add that I feel like it's in the mindset basically. From a very young age, we're told we're actually shown a world where the people, especially in Pakistan, we're shown where people are looking forward to all the executive jobs and not the ones that they can do in their basically the daily life. And that is because that is the sole reason why all of us, the students, especially including me, the youth as well, we look forward to only the jobs that pay us well, not the ones that we can do in our daily lives. And that is probably also because there's a very weak linkage between the education and the student and the people in Pakistan. If we improve that and if we counsel the students from a very young age, I believe this mindset can be changed.
Right. So everyone listening, these are people who have lived out of Pakistan and now back in Pakistan and serving their own country. You've got to change the mindset. You've got to break the barrier of just going for executive jobs and just looking at the people and thinking about the comments that they'll be passing on to you. So this mindset for the youth specifically just has to be changed. So our conversation has now taken us towards the challenges that youth face in Pakistan. And no doubt, youth is a resource, but if left underutilized and ignored, it can be a challenge for the country, and that is true. The youth of Pakistan is also facing multiple challenges that hinder their endeavor for their own development as well as the country's well. So, what do you guys think? What are the challenges, the actual challenges that the youth of Pakistan is facing, and what are their hopes about a better Pakistan?
I mean, I think I can only speak from my own experience, but there's this idea कि अगर आपके पास foreign degree होती है तो you're very sought after. But I actually had a very different experience. So for me, having a foreign degree, having worked abroad, coming back to Pakistan, it was very difficult to adjust because the work culture here is very, very different. And I think I'm not going to take any names, of course, but my first interview back in Pakistan was, I mean, it was a surreal experience. I think the way that the interviewers were trying to conduct the interview was kind of like an intimidation tactic, kind of a way. I was not asked a single question about my strengths, my skills, my experiences, what I can bring. And to me, this was something very jarring because now, if I ever offered a job from this institution, I'm not going to be inclined to take that job just because I think we really need to understand that what Avais said earlier about respect, it's not just कि अगर older generation हमने एक तरह से चीज की है तो बस हमारे तरीके से ही हो गया. I don't think it should be like that. I think the youth brings a lot of new ideas, opportunities, and oftentimes we want to take risks. So at least we should be heard out. We should be given that respect. Okay, maybe our ideas can do something different. And I think to be able to do that, we need to have a lot of communication, open communication within generations, within the people we're working with. So yeah, that's just something that was my experience when I came back.
Very well said. You very well said. So Manu, what's your take on that one? The challenges that
I
you
agree.
actually face, and then what are your hopes for a better Pakistan?
I very much agree with Anam that we should at least give the youth a listening ear, and we should let them uh, create their own path and create their own journey so that they can exercise this, so that they have this ability to explore their interests and learn from them and create their own path. I think that in terms of challenges, we have a lot of challenges that the youth faces in Pakistan. First of all, at the moment, a profound problem that we face is that of frustration. There are no job opportunities, and there's such a lack of opportunities for people for fresh graduates, and there's also a lack of health awareness. There's also a lack of healthy entertainment for the youth. And given the fact that we're now going through a pandemic, this has worsened. And another problem that we still face is poverty. And that leads to another problem, which is the inability to get a good quality education. और जब एजुकेशन नहीं होती तो फिर अवेयरनेस नहीं होती, एक्सेप्टेंस नहीं होती, और फिर लोग स्पेशली यूथ फ्रस्ट्रेट होके क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटीज में लग जाती है टू channel out their frustration. So I think unemployment, which is a result of this frustration and which is a result of a lack of education, it creates a vicious cycle where people who don't know how to channel it, they can get involved in criminal activities. And I think in terms of hope, at the moment, our youth has very weak hope in the future of Pakistan because of a lack of working opportunities, and we have a long way to go.
No doubt, no doubt. We have a long way to go, and I hope that the hopes get higher as the time goes by. Ursel,
Yes,
want to
I
over to
believe.
you. What's your take on that?
I would pretty much agree with what Anam and Manu said. I would just like to add that I believe that we do not have a reliable outlet for our mental source. We are not given counselors. जिसकी वजह से we're not able to express how we're feeling, the youth especially. Like I don't think it आजकल schools या colleges में there are reliable sources for students to go and tell how they're feeling and how they want to go about it. सो बेसिकली जब उन्हें वहाँ डायरेक्ट नहीं किया जाता तो फिर इन फ्यूचर वो और कंफ्यूज होते जाते हैं एंड दैट जस्ट एड्स अप टू द फ्रस्ट्रेशन दे have in the future. Secondly, what I've noticed in this recent years is primarily I think there's gender-based suppression, and that's a lot. Basically, in the legal fraternity, even when the students are in their third or second year, if you ask them, they're going the professors. I'm not going to name them, but the professors and the lawyers in the legal fraternity would tell you that basically that the women are not going to go much ahead of in the legal fraternity. However, that's not the case. Women are so much better than men in the researching and the drafting, and in of course talking with
Creativity.
emotion. Yeah, definitely. So that's something I believe that we need to overcome and remove that gender barrier from every other career basically.
Right, very, very well point that you described about the diversity that we should
Yeah.
focus on. Wes, you've already started, serving in the corporate industry of Pakistan. So what's your
Yeah.
say on the challenges that you specifically face, or the youth faces after finishing a degree or after moving into the corporate culture?
So I'll like to summarize the point of my three fellow candidates here, but from a holistic point of view, that there are some serious challenges being faced by the Pakistani youth. They not they don't only hinder the personal growth, but they are also hindering the country's overall growth, and majorly in the socio-cultural, economic, and the political outlook also. Uh, the major challenges, like the foremost challenges that our youth, or as a student, or as a working person, I have faced is like the growing intolerance, the extremism, and the ideological radicalism at the educational campuses and the corporate offices also. uh, the lack of education is basically the root cause, considered the root cause of all of this. But we can observe that the education system, our education system, has rendered the youth and its ability to enter into the logical arguments and healthy debates. What is the outcome of that? Eventually, the youth, or the people, or the students, they feel unable to differentiate the invalid argument with the valid argument, right? And they fall prey to the three basic things, that is, they look to others for their opinion, to tell them or to guide them what is wrong or right. And second one is that they accept the truth uh, of any view presented to them in a beautiful words or in a very glamorized way. The third one is they fall prey to the ideologies that are based on the sense of victimhood. So these are the fundamental points that come with the lack of education and the inability to involve ourselves in a healthy, constructive debate. And in the intolerance exceeds so much that we cannot listen to the other person's opinion with an open heart. So this mindset needs to be changed in the corporate culture, in the educational culture. As Mr. Asad Sadik, I guess, he just commented in the live chat that the youth has the right mindset, or they have the potential to have the right mindset. The older
Yes.
generation needs to redirect themselves and support the opinions. They should accept the opinions of the youth. So that's the mindset which we need from the elder generation. We'll bring the new mindset, will seek their guidance and support to move the nation into the right direction.
Right, right. Very beautifully put up. So, right now what we're discussing is the challenges that youth or we face in current situation of Pakistan. And I agree with all of you. There's issue that the females face while shifting to the from the academia to the corporate culture, as Anna mentioned her own story as well, how difficult it was to her. But we also have to understand that currently, in the coming few years, youth is going to be the driving force, since over 64% of the population is considered as youth. So, how do you think that you can help us shape a better Pakistan, and what are the ways for doing it? Because in the coming future, in about a few years, we will be the ones sitting on maybe some higher positions in the corporate world. So we'll start with Arshad this time.
Like I stated earlier, that I would want to see a Pakistan where I'm able to see people knowing their rights. So, in order to shape a better Pakistan, I would want to stay in Pakistan, practice law here, and tell people what a rule of law means. And rule of law is actually present in Pakistan, and that is also the base of one of the principles that our founder basically laid upon. Rule of law is basically when law is equal to everyone, and that is the type of Pakistan I would want to see, where there's no injustice, and where you and I and everyone will know their rights, so that and so that when there is a breach of right, the solution to it, they would know that they have to go to the court in order to get a remedy for it, not something that they could take into their own hands. So yeah, I would pretty much want to make the law and order better in Pakistan in order to make it shape better.
Thank you so much, Arshad, and that was a very valid point. Over to you, Manur. What's your say on that? How to shape up a better Pakistan, being the youth?
I think Ursula has raised a very good point that it's very important to educate people about their rights. And something that I feel is that the minimum that we can do, as a contribution towards Pakistan is get at least a bachelor level education, because when you have education, you have awareness, and that eventually translates into more acceptance. And that we need that at the moment, because there is a lot of, as Awais pointed out earlier, that we have a lot of religious intolerance and extremism in the country. And this is something that Jinnah fought. Jinnah's ideology was based on freedom and equality, and we are far from it now. There are so many cases of religious intolerance right now towards, and and I think that minorities are the ones that are facing the problems of religious intolerance more than uh, the Muslim community. So I think that it's important to at least have a bachelor level education to educate ourselves, and then we also need to arrange more marches and more movements where we can put across this message of peace and create more awareness about these issues that we still face in our country.
Thank you very much. And you have mentioned the point of ideology, which is after we take Anam's and Awais comments on this question, we'll move on to that one. So, Anam, your idea of how to shape a better Pakistan.
I think, of course, education, awareness, these are all very, very important, very valid points. But I also think communication and having an open dialogue is very important. I feel, especially when there are so many different mindsets that exist in a country, it is very important to be able to communicate in a way that everyone understands. So if you have two very opposing thoughts, you have to be able to communicate them in a way that each other understands, so that you can come and meet in the middle. Because even when, I mean, I'm of this belief that एक generation कुछ नहीं कर सकती. I don't think one generation alone can change something. You need to be able to work together. And even when our country was being made, it was a variety of generations who were coming together to fight for an independent nation. And I think that's what we need. The younger generation, generations younger than us, generations older than us, they're going to be different, and we need to be able to communicate in a way and come together to be able to change anything.
Right. Awais, your take on this question.
So I feel proud to be the part of 54% of the youth of Pakistan, and I would say that how we can make it better, or the youth can make the conditions here in Pakistan better. This is the right example in front of you, that four of us having degrees from abroad or studying abroad, gaining experience abroad, and coming back to Pakistan. We are serving here. I am serving my parent company here back, learning from the experiences or the examples that the Western countries or the other countries have excelled on. Learn from that, come back to Pakistan. So that shouldn't incorporate the element of brain drain, right? So we can take our country forward, we can take our youth forward, we can take our children in the schools forward by teaching them, by guiding them, or making the right mindset from the very beginning. So that's what that's what is currently needed. That if I am abroad, if I am learning something better there, I have to discipline myself individually. The discipline begins from an individual level. For example, if I go abroad and I follow the green light and the red light, I have to do that in Pakistan. If someone is not stopping at the signal, I have to encourage them also. I have to teach them also. That's my responsibility as an individual. That's not my, I'm not gracing them with some knowledge or something. It's my responsibility. So I believe that the right mindset, or it begins from the individual level, not throwing your garbage on the streets, following the street lights, disciplining yourself in healthy activities and educational activities, everything. So that's what we need to develop in ourselves. And if we learn from something good from someone else, we need to propagate that into the younger generation or even in the older generation.
Right. Thank you so much for your points, Awais. Before my next question, we're going to take a little detour from the questions that we have right here, and we're going to be talking about the fact that a lot of people in Pakistan, after finishing their schools or before that, get an idea in their mind of not having a future in Pakistan and to move abroad. All four of you have been abroad and then come back to Pakistan. So I want you to tell our audience, why did you take this decision, and how do they change the mindset? How important is it for them to change this mindset of just moving out of Pakistan? Any one of you can start.
I
I think the
think.
biggest misconception.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, okay. I think the biggest misconception that we have is that अगर हम बाहर settle हो जाएंगे तो हमारी जिंदगी बन जाएगी और
Yeah,
फिर से पे होगी and stuff
exactly.
like that. But when I was uh, back in UK, a lot of my classmates from different parts of the country, from different parts of the world, from with very extensive work experiences, they were not able to find any jobs, any good jobs, any be it multinationals or even local businesses. So बहुत मुश्किल है job opportunity seek करना even in western countries. तो ये सबसे पहला हमारा misconception है कि हमें job मिल जाएगी. A lot of my friends did stay back seeking work opportunities, but they returned uh, because the expenses are a lot and you cannot support yourself for a long time. Uh, तो आई थिंक ये एक बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है कि हमें लगता है कि बाहर जाके ज़िंदगी बन जाएगी, लेकिन आप अपनी कंट्री में ढूंढें, अपने वर्क अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिल जाएंगी. इट्स नॉट लाइक देयर इज नो होप. आप तलाश करें, मिल जाएंगी.
That's right. We need to break that misconception. Yes, Anam, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I agree with Manur that people think कि oh एक दफा बाहर चले गए बस life बन गया, ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं होता. I mean, I think we can kind of see with the state of the world right now. It's not just an issue in Pakistan. All around the world, there are issues when it comes to getting a job, with racism and all of these issues. And I think when coming back to Pakistan for me was I'm going to be honest, it was a difficult decision and it was a lot of adjustment as well. But it's a decision that I don't regret at all because जो मैंने यहाँ सीखा है वो मैं कभी बाहर नहीं सीख पाती. The way our country, our culture, our work culture is very different. I think having that experience is also very important. I faced rejection a lot in Pakistan in the beginning of my career here, and that is very important. I learned a lot from that, and obviously now to be able to give back. And I also think एक ये चीज़ है कि when you can't find job opportunities in Pakistan, it is easier to create a job opportunity for you. I mean, I know so many people who have startups in mental health, in environmental sustainability, in education, in sexual health awareness. So these are people who couldn't find jobs the way they wanted, right? So they made their own opportunities, and so many people that PSTD has highlighted in the past as well. So these are all, and I think being able to do that in Pakistan, you can't do that anywhere else. You can only do that in your home, in your country.
Yes, Arshal and Abbas, your points.
I would pretty much agree with what Anam and Mahanu said. I would just like to add that it's pretty much the same everywhere. So there's no harm in going and experiencing what's happening there. क्योंकि आई बिलीव कि आपको अपनी मुल्क की कदर आती ही तब है जब आप बाहर जाके एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं कि वहाँ पे क्या गलत हो रहा है. तो yeah, that's pretty much it.
So I would like to opinion my stance on that. That I agree with that everyone should experience. हर किसी को जाना चाहिए, अपने own पे रहना चाहिए, सीखना चाहिए, because that's the personal development. लेकिन you have to look back to your country because हम नहीं तो कौन और अब नहीं तो कब. That's the basic thing that हमने ही करना है, कोई बाहर से आके नहीं करेगा. और हमें ये करने के लिए चीज़ों को बेहतर हमने करना है, उन्हीं लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज के अंदर करना है. अगर हमें अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं मिल रही तो हमें बनानी है अपॉर्चुनिटीज. Either getting into the political streamline, getting into the developmental streamline, research streamline, we have to create that for ourselves.
Right, and there is a comment that I would like to show on the screen and read it out because Hadi Abbas says brain drain is one of the biggest challenges our country is currently facing. And it's absolutely commendable that you all return back to your country with a positive mindset and giving back to the society. So he's really appreciating you guys for coming back to Pakistan and with a mindset of serving your own country.
I just want to add one thing before we
Yes,
move on
yes,
to
please.
this, if I
Yes.
may.
Yes, sure.
There are many people who have chosen to go abroad and who have chosen to settle abroad and have made quite a name for themselves. I do think that it is possible to live abroad and contribute to your country at the same time. I don't think it's either or. I don't think we should put that limit or box on people. I think it's possible to live abroad, have that kind of exposure and lifestyle, and also give back to your country from there. So I think that is also a perspective that just needs to be put up there.
Would you shed some light on how would that be possible? Living
I
abroad
mean,
and
I
serving
think
the
there are I think there are people abroad, Pakistanis abroad, who have done so well for themselves. I mean, Malala is someone who comes to mind. Of course, the reasons that she left were different, but वहाँ जाके भी उन्होंने पाकिस्तान का नाम इतना रोशन किया. You know, she's met with political leaders from around the world and kind of put Pakistan on a map. And I think that's also very important. We have to also change the narrative of Pakistan on a global level, and those Pakistanis who are abroad are able to do that. I mean, I know that when I was living abroad, I changed. Like, people didn't really know much about Pakistan until they met me, and they became my friends, and I was able to give them that perspective. So I think that's also quite important.
Yes, that's a beautiful point that you've brought up. That people who are actually Pakistanis but living out of Pakistan can change the perspective of people in the West about the country. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Right. So before moving on to my next question, I would like to show on the screen uh, एक शेर जो कि जुबीना उमैर सादिक ने यहाँ पर लिखा है फॉर द यूथ ऑफ पाकिस्तान एंड इट्स अ मैसेज फॉर एवरीवन हु इज वाचिंग अस हम तो सिर्फ अनवान थे असल दास्तान तुम हो यू आर द फ्यूचर ऑफ पाकिस्तान सो शी इज टॉकिंग अबाउट द यूथ so moving on to the next question that I have. When Pakistan was made, it was based on an ideology, the ideology of Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the idea of ideology and the thoughts of the great Ilama Iqbal. And the 3 points specifically that Qaid-e-Azam always used to mention about unity, faith, and discipline. So, how does the ideology of founder of Pakistan you think it still prevails in the minds and hearts of youth? So we'll start with Manu.
I think in current times, we're far behind this ideology because we've seen numerous cases of religious intolerance, and we've seen numerous cases of where activists and people like Mashal Khan, they've been
Yeah.
brutally killed and they've been lynched to death because of false accusations of blasphemy. And there have also been attacks on minority groups, the Shia community, the Ahmadi sect, and there have been attacks on their worship places. And this has only become rampant in a few years ago. So, is fact we are far behind our founders' ideology of a free land where people are treated equally. So, and I think that's also because of the fact that power lies in the hands of the majority. Power lies in the hands of the leaders that the majority favor. So since we are a nation where a majority of the young population, not by choice, but by their circumstances are illiterate, they have to follow in the feet of their older generations. They have to follow and believe whatever the older generations follow. So unfortunately, we have we're still a long way from uh, seeing a Pakistan free of not exactly free because we cannot have a
So
free
we're
state.
far
I mean,
behind from the ideology on which जिसकी basis पे पाकिस्तान बना था.
exactly.
Right. So
Educated
Arshal, your
class
turn.
है, लेकिन
Yes, you can continue. You can continue, Manu, please.
okay. There is educated class or educated people belonging to, younger people belonging to the educated class. They do have more acceptance and more tolerance towards minority groups, but uh, अभी बहुत time है to still
अभी time है.
revert back to Janan's initial ideology.
Yes, Arshal.
I believe that we are very far from the ideology our founder laid. the idea was never to make a theocratic state. Basically,
Yeah.
it was supposed to be a democratic state where everyone, each one of us, would have the freedom of speech and freedom of movement. जैसे जैसे कि अगर मैं और आप हैं, हमारे पास सोच की आज़ादी हो, हमारे पास मूवमेंट की आज़ादी हो, हम जैसे चाहें जो है क्या कहते हैं, कीपिंग इन माइंड द इस्लामिक प्रिंसिपल्स, वेर एबल टू टॉक वट एवर दैट्स कमिंग इन टू आवर माइंड. बट मेरे ख्याल से अब इससे दिस कैन नॉट ऑब्वियसली चेंज ओवरनाइट. वीव कम प्रिटी फार फ्रॉम दैट. But the positive sign is that I see current youth educating themselves, and they are becoming more tolerant, and they want to listen to the perspective of others, and that I believe is the main thing that would help in changing us all.
Right. So, Abbas, what do you have to say about it?
So I would agree on that point that ideology of Pakistan is passing through a tough time right now. But I would like to differ from the idea that we are still far behind from it. Like we are heading towards the right direction, of course. Like programs like youth parliamentarians and youth leadership programs, and the fact that we are having a discussion, a very constructive discussion here on this platform in a live session, shows that we are heading towards the right direction. So I believe that although we are far away from the ideology, but having said that, that has been done now. But now people are developing the tolerance levels. They are engaging in healthy debates and activities. They are taking the right track. They are trying to discipline themselves. Even if they haven't taken the first step, they are thinking about it, which I believe is the first step towards going forward within the right direction. So this session is a proof of healthy discussion towards the right direction, I believe. So we are initiating. It's never too late to start. So I believe that sooner or later we will be there.
Inshallah. Inshallah, we will be there. Anam, over to you.
See, dekhein, I actually discovered this a few days ago myself. I was reading an article that said that, Jinnah initially wasn't in favor of a two-nation theory. It was only when he saw the actions of Congress that he realized that we need a separate nation for Muslims. And, his foundation is on freedom of speech, diversity, and everyone has spoken about how the rights of minority are not upheld in this country. But एक सेकंड के लिए माइनॉरिटीज को छोड़ें, आप राइट्स ऑफ वुमेन देखें. वी आर हाफ ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन ऑफ दिस कंट्री एंड women are so subjugated and oppressed in this country. Yes, there have been a lot of progress and a lot of strides for women as well. ऐसी बात नहीं है. But at the same time, I think patriarchal notions are so ingrained in our culture, even in well-educated families. It's not like it's a educated and non-educated issue. That I don't think it's that. I think even in educated families, patriarchy is so deep-rooted, and what that leads to is a lack of respect for the other, and that is what causes all intolerance, whether it's towards women, whether it's towards minorities, whether it's towards anyone who's different. So I think, yes, we have taken the first step. Yes, we are having conversations and dialogue, and we're having movements, but I think now we need to start taking it on a higher level, going into policy. We've seen policy changes being made in the past few years, and I think that momentum needs to keep going. Varna to Jinnah ka Pakistan
Varna will start going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
बाकी जिन्ना का पाकिस्तान अभी भी काफ़ी दूर है हमसे, and I really hope that we being the driving force can make the change in the near future. So हम अभी जितनी भी हमने बातें की हैं, जितनी भी हमने discussions की हैं, we've highlighted the challenges, we've highlighted the point that there are not many resources that we can count on being the youth, but we still have to own this country. We still have to serve this country. So how do you guys think, with all those problems, with all those lack of resources, how do you own a country? How do you own its problems? And how do you try to establish a better future for it?
I think you have to understand that even the smallest change has an impact. तो लोग कहते हैं कि हमें हम क्यों बोले हमारे बोलने से कुछ नहीं होगा, हम क्या करें हमारे करने से क्या होगा, कुछ नहीं बदलेगा। नो, यू हैव टू स्टार्ट स्मॉल। अगर आप अपने पेरेंट्स का ही माइंडसेट थोड़ा बदल सकते हैं, अपनी फैमिली में ही अगर आप थोड़ा एक चेंज ला सकते हैं, दैट्स आल्सो अ बिग थिंग। सो आई थिंक you need to start small. And again, I'm going to talk about the people in our country who have made change, who are starting their own businesses, who have startups that are focusing on things that the youth is invested in, which is your sustainability, feminism, health awareness, all mental health awareness. I think the fact that you see people who are starting these initiatives shows that you can own your country, you can make a difference, you can change. You just have to start small. It doesn't matter what you do, but just start. छोटा सा step लें, लेकिन लें आगे की तरफ.
Beautifully
That's
put.
my opinion.
Beautifully put. Abbas?
So I would like to add on that point which Anna made. We need to take a smaller step. I'll share my personal example on that. That I have been tutoring kids from 2012 till 2017, and one of my students was pretty young when I started teaching him. And my idea was to encourage him for the public speaking. And a few years later, he was too much into the MUNs, the Model United Nations, that he represented his school in Pakistan for a Model United Nation competition in Sri Lanka. So
Wow.
he is taking that path now. So I believe that a small input from me, an encouraging word or a statement from me has changed that particular individual. And if I can do it for 30 to 40 people in the course of 1 or 2 years, you can see the fission effect of that, that those 40 people will be going to another 40 people. And it will be a multiplier effect.
It's going
So
to
Right.
get a chain reaction going.
yeah, that's a chain reaction. So one statement, one step, just we need to step up. We need to take the first step, encourage people, and motivate them to do the right thing. So that will bring the change.
Right. Arshal, what do you have to say?
I pretty much agree with what Anam and Aves said. I would just like to add that we should be of the idea that one man can make a difference, because छोटा कतरा कतरा करके ही दरिया बनता है. So
Daryaba.
if we are of that idea, then we will be able to make a difference.
Right. Manur?
I think everybody has said whatever I wanted to say, and they've raised good, important points. And I do agree with the fact that small change can do so much, make a difference in somebody's life, and eventually make a difference for the country. And one thing that we can do is that be sincere and be committed to whatever field of work that we are in. उससे भी we can gain ourselves personally, financially, and we can also give back to our country. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your input, Manu. So I would like to just add on here about a point that Anam also discussed earlier in the conversation about the point of diversity, that it needs to be really focused upon, and it really needs to come from the corporate organizations all over Pakistan. And I'm really proud to be, of being in an organization, Pakistan Society for Training and Development, which really believes on diversity. We have a culture here which really supports an equal opportunity. We're known as equal opportunity provider to the male population and the female population. It's just that this culture needs to be there in each and every corporate organization, and then the chain reaction will be created for the generations to come who will join in next from those who are already there in the organizations. So before we close this discussion, I really want to have just one last comment from each of you on a point that although 64% population of Pakistan is youth, but I don't remember one of you had identified that not all of that 64% is falls under the literacy population. The ones who are literate, the ones who get education till they graduate, at least. So change reaction to हमने बनना है, but how do those who get these who can avail this opportunity help those जिनके पास ये opportunity नहीं?
I think there's an organization that is worldwide, but also in Pakistan, called Teach for Pakistan. And very recently, their graduates are now going to LUMs, they're going to great schools across the country. And I think an organization like that is really something that we should encourage. We should, if you can give time to that kind of an organization, you should do that, because that is basically what we're all talking about, right? Providing access to education for everyone and then seeing where these people go. And I mean, it's amazing. That's how. So I think focusing on education, being as part of as many of these initiatives as you can, volunteering your time. I think that's all very, even if you start from home, educating the people who are in your house, the people who work in your house, start there. I think volunteering as much of our time as we can would help with that.
Avas, what do you have to say about it?
So I would say that there are pretty much a lot of arguments, organizations, they are working in that particular area. As Anam mentioned, that Teach for Pakistan is one of them. There is one named as Burgad, and PSTD itself. Like, these NGOs and INGOs can collaborate and encourage the youth or the general people to get into the programs of volunteering and teaching kids across the country. And we being privileged, I consider myself privileged for having a good education.
Yes,
That's
yes,
that brings a huge responsibility onto my shoulder. If
spot on.
if I understand that responsibility, and if I give even the 50% of that responsibility to the public or the nation back, I need to have that mindset of giving back to the country through the volunteer programs, through my personal initiatives, through starting at home, any way possible. So I believe that on an individual level, we need to be responsible enough for the privileges we had and we are having right now. We should give back to the country and to its people.
Right. That was those comments were really spot on, I believe. Manu, your take on that.
I think Anam and Wes have said pretty much everything. But even if you can't make the effort yourself, what you can do is probably help these organizations financially. Even if not financially, you can donate your old books. मतलब छोटी efforts करके you can help these organizations and their effort and support their cause, because they're eventually helping the whole nation, the whole country. So these are little efforts that you can make to give back to organizations and support them and encourage them to keep on investing in in a cause such as education, which is so important for the betterment of our nation.
So Arshal, मैं आपके comment का बड़ी बेसब्री से wait करता because you're already in the education system, as I know. The talk we had before the live show started. तो आपका क्या कहना है इस बारे में? What responsibility do you and the people who get all those educational benefits have for those who are not able to get it?
I pretty much have the same perspective. Like, I would share my personal experience. There's this organization named as TCF. So all the students, they basically volunteer there and they educate whatever they're good at. Like, I am a law student, so I would go there and teach any of the modules that we have to learn in law, right? Similarly, my friends would go there for different subjects. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that it is our responsibility that whatever we excel in, we basically transfer that to the younger generation by going there, volunteering, and teaching them, basically. And the three of these said, the least we can do is that if we are not able to go there, we can donate our books, or we could financially help these organizations, because in the end the base is always going to be education. If you give them education, you will definitely see them excel in future.
Thank you very much, all of you, and we're really close to our end of this session. But before we leave the live broadcast, I would really like to have one statement in a short line from each of you about your vision of Pakistan in about 10 to 15 years.
I want to see a Pakistan जो कि जिसमें सोच की आज़ादी हो, मूवमेंट की आज़ादी, और हर एक
Movement की आज़ादी.
हर एक बच्चे को अपना राइट पता हो ताकि उनके साथ
अपने rights
इनजस्टिस
के
ना हो।
साथ।
बिल्कुल।
Brilliant. Anam,
I want to see a Pakistan that is united,
united,
diverse,
diverse,
progressive, and respectful and kind to each other. We are the most
respectful.
hospitable
Wow,
people
good.
that
Yes.
in the world. So we need to shine
We
on
are
that.
known for
Shine
our
that.
hospitality for others,
Exactly.
but we are
For ourselves.
lacking in
We
it
need
when
to do
it
that for
comes to
ourselves.
yes, yes, that's true. Manur,
I want to see a Pakistan where people are kind to each other, where people are accepting of each other's opinions and whatever religion, whatever sect you come from, where people are tolerant towards each other. I really want to see a Pakistan where people love each other just for themselves and not based on what uh, sect or etc. they come from.
wonderful, wonderful. Obes,
I would say the three words like educated,
educated,
well educated, well behaved, and prosperous.
prosperous.
Yeah.
So you want to see Pakistan in these, three words in the next 10 to 15 years. I thank you
Inshallah.
all so very much for taking out time and being here and sharing your views with our audience, and especially on the day of independence, being a holiday, you still gave your time to us, and we at PSTD are really thankful for you for that.
No, and thank you to PSTD for putting on this amazing discussion and for constantly working on the betterment of our country.
The society. Yeah.
You're welcome.
That was the minimum we could do, and equally like accept the gratitude for having us here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ji. I welcome you all for on behalf of Pakistan Society for Training and Development. आप सब जो लोग हमें लाइव देख रहे हैं, आप सब लोगों के लिए एक मैसेज: स्टे सेफ, गो आउट एज लेस एज पॉसिबल, वेयर योर मास्क, यूज सैनिटाइजर्स, एंड अपने घरों को साफ रखें, और सिर्फ अपने घरों को नहीं, जहाँ आप रहते हैं उसको साफ रखें. एंड योर हाउस इज नॉट जस्ट वेयर यू लिव, दिस कंट्री इज योर हाउस. So with that, I'll take your leave now, and inshallah, see you next time. Thank you all for participating. Thank you everyone who was commenting, and thank you all the people who are watching this live. Thanks a lot. Allah Hafiz. Pakistan
Thank
Zindabad.
you very much. Pakistan Zindabad.
Zindabad.